So Leo then?
Yes.
Shall we go to Leo? Okay, so for Leo, Jupiter's in the 5th house.
Ooh.
Yeah, and that's the house of creativity, children, of course. Spiritual practice is actually related to that house too, and honors from your work. And it's a type of house that has to do with the mind. So an expansion of the mind, some kind of creative project that maybe you've been wanting to be inspired again on, or to start or finish. That is going to be really activating that house for you. And the 5th house for Leo is a significant house anyway. And so it's possible that you may get pregnant and have a child. Or maybe just spend a lot more time with the children you already have. And it's not just human children, it can be creative children as
Right.
well. And honors from your work. So you could get a promotion. You could get a raise. You could do something like perhaps write a book or create a course that really furthers your business if you have a business. And taking courses, you can take courses as well too, to add to your skills for whatever the work it is that you do in the world. Let me see, and it's also aspecting the, okay, does that make sense? Yes, it aspects the 9th house also for Leo rising. So all the same 9th house significations that we said for Aries rising. And you can go back and listen to the Aries portion if you want to get more information on what that could mean for you in terms of 9th house significations.
Perfect. So let's pull a card and see what's going on with Leo. So you have the Jack of Diamonds reversed. And I actually kind of like this card for this transit for Leo ascendant, because the Jack of Diamonds is the card of being a child, being childlike, being playful. And you have Jupiter in your 5th house, which is such a nice house of like being romantic, being fun, being playful, doing the things that you love to do. Well, Jupiter is not just in the 5th house, it's also in the sign of Sagittarius. So when Jupiter is in the sign of Sagittarius, it's giving us wisdom, understanding. It's allowing us to see things from a higher perspective, but it's also allowing us to be more wise with whatever it is that we're doing. So, whatever area of our chart it's in, it's giving us some kind of wisdom. So while Jupiter is in the 5th house, allowing you to, be fun and playful and think about children and spend time with children and be romantic and have fun, it's also saying that in that process of doing that, you're going to be able to let go of, some kind of immaturity that you have. So you're going to be able to approach romance. You're going to be able to approach spending time with children. You're going to be able to approach your creativity with some kind of a maturity or kind of a letting go of the negative parts of being childlike, because it's beautiful for all of us to maintain a sense of innocence and playfulness, but it isn't a beautiful thing to be immature or to act like a child when we should really be stepping into our sovereignty and into our wisdom. So this is going to give you an opportunity to be innocent, to be playful, to find the wisdom in your innocence and the wisdom in your playfulness without being immature and without acting like a child. So for all of you that have felt like I need to kind of grow up or mature, or maybe you're dating someone with a very strong Leo and you're like, why can't they just grow up? This could be an opportunity for Leo ascendant people to kind of just, let go of some of those things where it's like, they're acting more like a kid, or they're not being able to step into their wisdom, and for them to do that in a way that resonates with them. So it's beautiful. It seems like a negative card, but it's actually a really, really beautiful thing for Leos.
You said it was a diamond, right? It's a diamond?
Yes.
Okay, well, that's interesting because Jupiter is also aspecting the 2nd house for Leo rising, the 2nd house of wealth and resources. So diamonds, what would you have to say how that relates to that for Leo rising?
Well, It could be, so this would be like the more negative side of it. So there could be overly optimistic belief systems related to money. So being overly optimistic, kind of not really having a clear idea of what exactly it is that you need financially in order to cover your basic living expenses and things that you have responsibility for. But in the process, gaining the wisdom in order to do so. So there could be like a challenge there. Obviously, Jupiter is giving opportunity, but for whatever reason, the card is showing challenge. So maybe something else is impacting the second house, but I'm not looking at the astrological chart, but maybe something else is impacting that second house that's giving that difficulty while Jupiter is there trying to offer the wisdom needed to overcome that obstacle.
Well, what's good about it is that Mercury is aspecting it, the other manifestation planet, and it's aspecting its exaltation sign.
Good.
So it can also be learning how to manage your money better.
Like letting go of this immature way of being in regards to your finances. So it will be a process according to the cards of truth, but it will end up being beautiful. And I do feel like a lot of positive energy with this card. So it's not negative in that kind of sense. It feels positive, but that makes sense to me that there'd be some kind of a positive outcome.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Virgo.
Yeah, let's try to finish these in the next half hour.
Yeah. So Virgo, for Virgo rising, Jupiter is in the 4th house of inner happiness and your literal home and your mother. So it has the 4th house has a lot of different significations: real estate, fixed assets, and in Vedic astrology, it's vehicles like cars, academic degrees, pets. So when the great benefic Jupiter aspecting the 4th house for you, this is where you can make a tremendous amount of progress in learning how to be happy, to be above your circumstances, whatever your circumstances are, and to learn what that really means to be able to live above your circumstances. Because Jupiter is the planet of happiness, and it's what will make us happy long term, versus Venus, which is what we desire, what we want right now, which can bring us satisfaction. But Jupiter is long-term happiness. And whatever you learn about being happy, regardless of what's actually going on in your life, that is something you'll get to keep. You'll take that with you. That it's like a gift that Jupiter will be giving to you that you'll carry throughout the rest of your life. Let me see. It's also with the moon, the house that the moon loves. So that's the mind house. So yeah, there's a lot of growth here. You could also perhaps move. You could get not just move, but get maybe your dream home. Because Jupiter is like palatial estates in Jaimini astrology. He represents palatial estates. So you could get yourself like your dream home.
Wow.
You might get a new car. And you finish up your degree. Maybe the degree you've been working on forever and ever, you'll be able to finish that. And it also means good things for your mother, too. Simply because these planets represent other people in our life, too. And perhaps maybe your relationship with your mother can improve if it needs improvement. If not, you'll just get closer to each other and really appreciate your mother, and perhaps in a totally different way. So what do you want to say about that?
Sounds nice. And yeah, I've seen that this transit of Jupiter through the 4th, it has been very significant for people. Like they really feel it because it is the 4th house. It's like that feeling part of the chart. And it can be life-changing. I've actually seen it to be quite life-changing, but I think that's because a lot of the people that I've just seen go through it were Leo risings with Jupiter in the 4th and Rahu going through there first. So I do see, though, that the Jupiter going through the 4th house, though, you feel it. You feel like you're growing emotionally. And that's a really, really important, it's like, I would say make the most of that for those of you that struggle emotionally. So let's see, Virgo, with your cards. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 of hearts. So this makes a lot of sense. This is one of my favorite cards. It's one of the cards that I've studied the absolute most. I've made like 3 videos on this card. I am writing like pages and pages of information about this card. So it's a very important card. I think it's one of the most spiritual cards in the entire deck. And what this is about is it's about forgiveness and unconditional love. And it's the type of love, I mean, it's even beyond forgiveness. It's the type of love that you allow yourself to feel because you're right as a human being, and who you are as a human being when you first arrive on this earth is pure love. So Jupiter in the amazing sign of Sagittarius, which is like deep, deep wisdom, is going to give you this opportunity to learn how to love in this way that's very, very hard to love. You know, loving people not despite of things or because of things, but just because you love, you know, loving because of the sake of loving, just like dogs come up to you in, you know, at the park and love you, even though they don't know you. It's spiritual, it's divine, it's blissful. A lot of people could be wanting more spiritual types of connections with love through devotion rather than partnerships at this time. So Virgos could be more focused on a spiritual understanding of love rather than mundane kinds of love. And people, I would say Virgos would really be seeking deep connections, spiritual connections, even challenging relationships because they want to like just love deeply. So
that's really interesting because the hearts, right, relationship, and Jupiter is aspecting the 7th house for Virgo rising. Romantic relationships, and the 10th house of career and responsibilities. But the hearts seem to really go with the 7th house, doesn't it, too?
yes.
And of course the inner, like you were saying, of course. But that's a possibility. If you're female and you're single, that inner happiness that Nicole was talking about, that you cultivate and grow, will be the thing that will magnetize the right husband for you, because that's one of the main things that people are attracted to. Men are attracted to a woman who's joyous and happy.
Yep. So this is the opportunity, and I see people making huge strides emotionally with Jupiter in the 4th. So it's beautiful. It's challenging, but beautiful. And this actually won't be that challenging because it's Sagittarius. So you have help.
Yeah.
Okay, Libra.
Okay, so Libra, the 3rd house. And the 3rd house has to do with developing skills, learning new skills. It's a big skill house. And Mercury being there too is really helping to manifest that house. So Jupiter and Mercury are manifesting the 3rd house for you of skills. It's also sales, mechanical ability, younger siblings. So there may be a teammate. So there could be a real emphasis on collaboration during this next year for you. And, you know, Venus, the Lord of Libra, is also in Libra in the 1st house, which is very interesting because Venus and Jupiter are the 2 Brahmin mentality planets. Brahmin meaning it's a temperament thing, where there's a love of knowledge and there's a desire to share that knowledge in order to alleviate the suffering of mankind. And so there's quite an emphasis on that. There'll be an acquisition of lots of knowledge and wisdom this year for Libra, and skills, development of skills, probably to a great degree, actually, especially because Mercury is there helping all of that. And let me see, for Libra, it's also aspecting the 6th house of health. So everything that we talked about for Cancer rising, you can listen to that too, because there'll be something in that for you. And then, see, 7, 8, 9, and it's aspecting the 9th for you. So everything we said for Aries rising, you can go listen to Aries rising, and that will give you more information about how Jupiter is going in Sagittarius is going to be affecting you for the next year.
Perfect. Okay, so
yeah.
let's see Libra's card. It's the Ace of Clubs, which is such a powerful card. It was actually an Ace of Clubs day yesterday, so I spent a lot of time thinking about this card. I think it was yesterday. The Ace of Clubs is a card of inspiration and creativity. It's basically having like an amazing idea that you want to create out in the world. And so with Jupiter going through your 3rd house, it could be an opportunity for you to, make friends or work with people, or to, learn the skills that you need to bring your inspiration or your idea into the world, and to make your inspiration, come to life. Like, the 3rd house is the house of writing. So for writers, you could finally be feeling inspired. And I think you're going to be making a lot of connections with people. The Ace of Clubs contains the 2 of Hearts, which is a card of meeting people, coming together with people. So I think that this is going to be a year of a lot of connections with Venus in your sign. This is like, you're going to be extremely diplomatic. You're going to want to learn more about how relationships work. I just think that so many Libras are going to be getting the opportunity to really connect and make friends, and those connections are going to be inspiring, or they could end up being collaborations that you end up making art together, or working on a project together, or even just collaborating on something fun, like, doing something fun and crazy together. Yeah. So it's really a great card. And I think if you've been lacking inspiration or lacking connection, that cycle is going to end very soon. And by Jupiter going into Sagittarius, it's going to feel like that's just a thing of the past.
Yeah, I like the sound of that. Yeah, how could I miss that, huh? Moon with Mercury and Jupiter. Right, the 2 planets, 2 of the 3 planets you need to have with or aspecting the moon to write. So, yeah, that looks like an emphasis on writing to me for sure.
Yep.
Okay, so Scorpio?
Yep.
So for Scorpio, Jupiter is in the 2nd house. And the 2nd house is wealth. Jupiter is the planet of wealth. The 2nd house is also having to do with your family life, what you eat, what you drink, speech, teaching, and close friends and advisors. So great time to get a coach if you really want to have the year like really move your life forward in a big way. It'd be a great time to get a coach, of course, to get a reading, and to grow your income. And, I want to recommend a book here for that, which is Tony Robbins' book, Money, Master the Game.
Okay.
Just because it's such a readable book and very, very helpful.
Write it down.
And, Jupiter is also the planet of charity. He's the one where you make enough money that you'll be able to donate to your favorite charities. You'll be able to do that give back thing that you've been wanting to do, if you're not already doing that.
Yeah.
Also, it's the house of close friends, and Mercury, the planet of friends in general, is in that house too, and family. So you'll probably make friends with people that will feel like family to you, because they'll be that important to you. Let me see, what else? Well, family life, which is basically being able to provide more for your family, like bringing more resources and wealth in to the family coffers, and also just spending more time with your family. And these are all gentle planets in this house. So the speech will be very full of wisdom and knowledge. And if you've been wanting to teach, if perhaps you think maybe you can't teach, hopefully this transit will convince you otherwise, because you have a lot of wisdom and knowledge to give. It's another way to bring in extra income too, is to create some kind of a course or a program and package your knowledge and your wisdom in some way, and that will bring in money for you over a long period of time.
Yes.
What you want to say?
I think that's perfect. And I think even with Jupiter being in the second house, it can be a really good time to figure out budgeting and how to make more money, like Karen was saying. So getting like a coach that can do that is good, because it's in that house of advisors. So I actually do love doing financial and budgeting coaching. So you can always email me to figure out about that. I love doing that for people.
I didn't know that about you.
It's so fun for me. I've helped so many people with that. I love it. So what I will say is, the Martian signs, Aries and Scorpio, really do show up pretty heavily in this Cards of Truth card spread that I pulled for I didn't pull, I cast it mathematically for the time that Jupiter transits into Sagittarius. So I would say the signs that are going to be the absolutely most impacted are going to be the Jupiter ruled signs, Pisces and Sagittarius, which we're going to get to. But the second signs I would say that are going to be the most heavily impacted are Aries and Scorpio. So Scorpio is going to just, I think, be maybe the Scorpio or the Mars ruled signs like Scorpio and Aries are going to kind of be more of like they're going to kind of bring this energy of this transit out into the world more. So if you are Aries or if you're Scorpio, you're going to be kind of one of the main players of bringing this Jupiter and Sagittarius energy out into the world and kind of presenting it. So you might see a lot of Martian ruled people kind of like really bringing their wisdom to the world in a big way, or teaching, or, even people that have this Mars ruled energy will be like wanting to learn as much as they can. They're going to be the ones that are soaking up a lot of the information. And I'll talk more about the Jupiter ruled signs in a minute, but let's see specifically what your card is for Scorpio. Well, you have the Three of Hearts, and this is also a Martian card. So it's all about putting energy into love, but it's a difficult card. So whereas you do have, Jupiter in the second, one of the other themes that's going to be going on is not going to be necessarily related to your finances, but related to your emotional life. And so many Scorpio people, ascendant, sun, and moon, are going to be dealing with either issues of emotional vulnerability, of needing to strengthen a bond. So going through the difficult things that are necessary in order for you or your relationship to reach a level of emotional security. Or some of you could be going through some difficulties in relationships, which will require needing to fly apart from a relationship. So needing to leave a bond behind, or some of you may even have struggles of like which partner to choose. So there could be even some interesting love triangles happening for Scorpio people. So if you're using this energy wisely, typically it's just going to be a matter of you being able to be emotionally vulnerable, or to allow a relationship to go through the strengthening phase that it needs to become really pure and secure. So I don't know if you see that at all in the astrology, because
that's really interesting. Especially Aries rising, like you were saying, the ninth house with Jupiter there, and Scorpio, the second house of what goes into the body. If you are struggling with an addiction, like say alcohol or drugs, this is the best time to go into like the 12-step programs. And I have a very high regard for those 12-step programs, because the whole thing uses all the planets, and especially Jupiter and Venus, where it helps you to, it's just so great. So this would be an excellent time to do that for yourself and for everyone in your life, because whatever you do for yourself is going to impact your family tremendously. And I happen to know somebody who has Aries rising, who has been thinking about going into like Alcoholics Anonymous, for instance, but hasn't taken that step yet. And the partner of that person wanting to go into, like Al-Anon or some support thing like that, this would be such a great time to do it. You would get so much out of it. It can literally completely change your life.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be perfect for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, with the Scorpio people, with the relationship stuff, just don't keep secrets from people. That's the biggest thing I would say during this time is don't keep secrets from people. Actually, when I cast a chart for this exact transit, Jupiter shifting into Scorpio, it was a Scorpio rising with Venus falling in the 12th house in Libra. So it's just really, I mean, it's going to have a lot of, powerful energy. This Jupiter in Sagittarius is like, it's still going to be deep and intense, just like how we've been experiencing Jupiter in Scorpio. It's just going to be, more of the wisdom orientation, all of that. But with Scorpio people in general, just don't keep secrets from people. Use this energy more so to enhance relationships and to grow relationships. And you might feel like you need a lot of independence in relationships, but, use that to strengthen your relationship rather than to break that bond. Let me just see something. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And along those lines too, it's possible that would mutate a romantic relationship into a friendship. If instead of breaking the bond, you just mutate it into Mercury.
Yeah.
And that way, you get keep something good from that relationship.
Yes.
Okay, so you want to talk about Sagittarius now?
Yeah, so Sagittarius.
Well, for Sagittarius rising.
Oh, sorry.
It's it's doing that. Well, so for Sagittarius, Jupiter is in the first house. So this has to do with your basic self. It's a self house. It's your body. It has to do with your literal path through life. It's your appearance. And I know you've probably heard that when Jupiter is going over the ascendant, you gain weight. That is not the case. It's not always the case because Jupiter is in really good condition in that sign, and it's in a fire sign. So no, it doesn't mean you're going to gain weight. What you're going to do is you're going to gain in wisdom. And it's interesting that Jupiter is considered to be, in Sanskrit, he's considered to be heavy. And heaviness has to do with the amount of knowledge that you have, the amount of wisdom that you have. So you're just going to really grow in wisdom. And it's a really nice placement, too, for your health, to have Jupiter going over your ascendant. You should be feeling a tremendous amount of well-being over this next year because Jupiter is, it's the ascendant Lord in the ascendant. Mm-hmm. And there's going to be some emphasis on the self, emphasis on, I guess, who you are, how you present yourself in the world, how people see you, and what your path is. And Jupiter is one of those planets that has to do with things like teaching, science, philosophy, wisdom. You might become a spiritual teacher. It has to do with creativity, wealth. It's just an all-around positive thing. And it's also aspecting your fourth house of inner emotional happiness, mm-hmm. and your seventh house and your 10th house. And that's because the dual signs or the mutable signs aspect each other in Jaimini astrology. And so those are all the areas that you're going to experience growth, because Jupiter is also growth and expansion. And it's with the moon, right? The planet and the moon is waxing. So it's starting its waxing 2-week cycle. So that is the growth principle too. And then Mercury, the manifestation, both manifestation planets there. I can't think of anything negative to say here about that.
No, I can't really see anything
yeah.
negative either. I'll draw a card, but when we look at this, for both Sagittarius and Pisces, the most amazing thing about this transit, especially because Jupiter is going to be aspecting the 7th, is that there can be so much wisdom that can be used for not only the self, but also to be put into the relationship. So I think a lot of Sagittarius rising sun and moon people are going to be able to get themselves into relationships where they can really be mature in relationships, and they can like have serious relationships, because they're going to be based off of a foundation of like a higher philosophy or a higher principle. So like, more spiritually oriented. And so they're not going to get so stuck in like, oh, well, you didn't do this for me, or you didn't do that for me, or, I can't accept you for A, B, C, and D. It's going to be much more of like a understanding, compassionate, mature way of relating. So there's going to be a lot of Sagittarius people that can have more mature, long-term relationships coming up for them, and be in the right place, or have the wisdom at their disposal about themselves and about relationships in order to manage these relationships very well.
Yeah, and Jupiter is also grace. So you'll find yourself being in the right place at the right time more often. It's the principle of synchronicity gets very expanded, so that it just feels like everything flows. And if you ask for any guidance from the divine, you'll get very clear messages. Or signs or whatever.
So let's see the card for Sagittarius. And we have the 8 of Spades, which is a really, really nice card. So the 8 of Spades, let me just think about something. Sagittarius. So the 8 of Spades is the card of feeling stuck, feeling like you're in jail, feeling like things aren't moving the way that you want them to. It's also the card of foreign travel. I don't necessarily feel like anyone that is a Sagittarius rising is going to feel absolutely stuck unless they need to be stuck in order to get some kind of a philosophical or spiritual understanding. But what I do think that this card is showing is that there's a huge need for Sagittarius people to really just understand that when Jupiter is in your first house, Jupiter has an incredible power to manifest. And it's your first house. So it's not only going to manifest with you and your health and your dharma, but it's going to impact every single area of your life. When Jupiter is in your first house, it can change everything for the better. I've seen people with Jupiter in the first house transit, like just go from making no money to, having the grace and luck in all areas of their life to have a full-blown career. So
nice.
With the 8 of Spades, it's really a call to tell you that this is an opportunity for you to, do what you want to in life because it is who you are. And also to recognize that your manifestation power at this time is so strong that you really need to be careful with what is going on inside yourself. So work on yourself, work on your thoughts, work on your patterns, work on, your beliefs, because all those things will have an easier time manifesting in reality, for good or bad, and it's going to be a lot of good. So why not make it great, Yeah,
there's one thing I wanted to say about that too, and that is like Nicole was saying, there will be a lot of consciousness about money, and how money can be a path to freedom, so where you can develop a freedom-based lifestyle. Maybe by having some kind of a business on the internet, which is usually how a lot of people create a business freedom-based lifestyle. But freedom is a big part of that, because it's Sagittarius, right? Sagittarius has to do with freedom too.
Yes.
So that's all I wanted to add was that word, freedom. Yeah, you could meet your teacher too, like a guru, somebody who really furthers your life, or a coach. That.
Yes.
So did you already talk about their card? I'm sorry. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So we have 3 left, and then I'll have to go because
Right.
I need to eat
Right.
something.
Yes. Okay. So Capricorn rising. So now things kind of switch and they go in the opposite direction. For Capricorn rising, Jupiter will be in the 12th house. And the 12th house has to do with enlightenment. It's one of the spiritual liberation houses. It's far away lands, so you could travel to some very far away land you've always wanted to go to.
Yes.
It's also asceticism, too. Like perhaps you might want to devote yourself entirely to your spiritual practices. Join an ashram or a monastery or a nunnery or something like that. Or that's another signification of the 12th house, or spiritual retreats. Now, it's also the house of expenses, hospitals, imprisonment. But even if, say, for some reason you ended up in jail, God forbid, in jail, you will have like a Jupiterian experience. Like maybe that would be because everything in prison, of course, is your schedule is absolutely set. You don't have to worry about making a living, and you can devote whatever free time you have to increasing your knowledge, to prayer, meditation, spiritual practices. You can read.
Yeah.
So in other words, there's a way that you can turn a negative experience and get a blessing out of it, because Jupiter is also blessings.
Yeah, and you do hear people doing that.
Yeah. And then, okay, now Jupiter too is the natural ruler of children and husband. So there may be some expenses involved with your children and or your husband if you're female, or male. It doesn't matter, right? You can be gay and have a husband too. So but these are expenses that they're not bad. It's a good expense, or it's something that you're willing to spend money on simply because you have faith that it will be to good use. It'll be used for in a positive way. Yes. It's not just money down the drain, in other words.
No, I have seen people also spend a lot of money on like astrology readings and coaching sessions and tarot card readings too during these transits as well.
Right.
So we'll see. Okay, let's draw a card for Capricorn. So we have the Jack of Clubs reversed. So another reversed face card. So interesting. So while Jupiter is in your 12th house, you might find yourself being a little bit less creative or having a lot less ideas. And I think the focus here is to kind of get you a little bit more open to just inspiration and to spiritual understanding, rather than maybe just being creative or being intellectual or being philosophical. So there's much more of an emphasis on like that just kind of pure relationship with wisdom, rather than wisdom having to be intellectualized or wisdom having to be brought into art or music or anything. So if you're a creative person and you're going through this transit of Jupiter in your 12th house, this is more of an opportunity for you to experience the divine in a different way, and don't feel like you need to intellectualize it. Don't feel like you need to be able to explain the experiences that you might be having during this very, very interesting transit. And also know that during this transit, there might be some people that come up for you throughout this year that you can't really trust, and that you will likely have the intuition available to kind of know at first, just by meeting them, if they are trustworthy or not. So just watch out for some people, likely younger males that might not be as trustworthy, or even women that have kind of like a more active sort of dominant energy that you might not be able to trust. So kind of a weird message for Capricorns, but really I think the emphasis here is just for you to understand that Jupiter in your 12th house is trying to give you an understanding of wisdom that's not intellectual. So be willing to kind of let go of that need to intellectualize or put it into creativity or put it into writing, whatever it is you're experiencing. Just let the experience be what it is with Jupiter in your 12th. It's a deeper, more intense, more personal experience, probably something that you won't even be able to explain to someone else and have them understand it.
Yeah, and it's also aspecting your 3rd, your 6th, and your 9th house. So you can listen to, let me see, Libra rising to get more information. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Your Cancer rising and Aries rising. Those 3 readings that we just did for those 3 signs would also give you more information.
Perfect.
Okay, so Aquarius.
Yay.
So for Aquarius, Jupiter is in the 11th house, of gains. So there could be an increase in your income, or you might start a side venture. Also, like winnings, like pennies from heaven, where you maybe you never play the lottery or something and you decide to buy a lottery ticket on a whim. You might actually win something. Your social life in general. So it can really expand your social life. And income from your job and career as well. So, and for, let me see, for Aquarius rising, Jupiter is aspecting your 2nd house of wealth. Again, so there's that emphasis on wealth. If you get a raise, if you have a side venture to bring extra money in, of course, that's going to affect your 2nd house of wealth too. And let me see, so, okay, if that makes any sense. No, it's your 5th house. It also aspects your 5th of creativity. So listen to Leo rising. And let me see, your 8th house of the metaphysical, occult sciences and your partner's resources. So, and or inheritance. You could inherit something, some kind of maybe property or money, or maybe just treasured things that you've wanted. Yeah, so let me see, since it's aspecting your 2nd house, again, that's relating to teaching. So you may come up here or just create a class to teach if you have a business. It could bring into your life like better friends, maybe, or closer friends, or different kinds of friends, or friends that are related. Okay, so you want to pull a card for Aquarius?
Yes, let's see. So with Aquarius, I have the 10 of Hearts. So the 10 of Hearts is an amazing, amazing card. It's quite emotional as well. And really, this card is saying that you have this opportunity during this transit to be very, very emotionally fulfilled. And this can definitely come from your expansion of your friend groups and spending time with your friends. But it's very emotionally rewarding. It's kind of this card of being able to be very patient and understanding with relationships that matter to you. So if there's, you know, a relationship that you're going through that's kind of challenging, this card can give you the patience and the understanding and the love to get you through a difficult time, because this card really shows us that love isn't easy, but when we do love and we don't give up on love, that there are a lot of rewards. So you also get a lot of rewards from this card in terms of any kind of past hard work that you put into relationships. So you'll be able to be patient and enduring in your relationships, and this will likely deal with relationships with your, probably this will mostly relate to people that already have a family, so that people that are already married with their own families. And if you aren't already married with your own families, you will be experiencing this type of joy and coming together and love, dealing with your friendships and your friend groups. So it's going to be a very wonderful emotional time for both kind of families and then people that are single, more like with your friends. It's kind of just a lot of joy, a lot of expansion, but the expansion will, for whatever reason, be very emotional because of what this card is showing.
Wow. Let me see here. Jupiter is related to purpose too. It's your why, the why you do anything really. And so Jupiter is going to be aspecting your 9th house, which is also related to purpose. And I don't know why I didn't remember to bring up that word earlier for everyone else. So for Pisces, we're starting Pisces now?
Yep.
Okay, so for Pisces, Jupiter in Sagittarius will be in the 10th house. So this is directly related to your purpose, what you're doing here on the planet, and there'll be an expansion in that area. You'll get more clear on exactly what that purpose is. And this would probably be a good time called the Your Great Work consultation. It's a 2-part consultation, and that is where we go really into all the with clarifying purpose for you. So Pisces rising people, that is going to be a theme for the year, and everything that you do being basically informed by your purpose, what you're here to do in the world. It's also a house of fame, so you may gain some reputation, fame in your particular career. Your reputation will improve. Perhaps there'll be more people who find out about you. And it has to do with your father. So usually career and expansion of purpose is often related to your relationship with your father. Because it's usually, this is generally speaking, it's not always the case, but usually the father has a lot to do with what you do in the world. Like you could be doing what he was doing, and or whatever it is that you learned from him about how to, what you're doing in the world, what you're doing in your career, that will be more obvious to you. You'll see the connection to that more clearly.
Perfect.
And yeah, your visible actions. So usually that has to do with, this isn't exactly one of those. There's a yoga that when you have just benefics in the 10th, that whatever you do is of value to other people. And, Mercury and the moon are there too. So you won't be able to be like one pointed in your purpose. There will be some other factors coming in. And depending on the time of year, depending on where the other transits are, those other things will be triggered off. You won't be able to be completely one pointed in your focus and your purpose, like perhaps you would like to be, but that's okay, because Mercury, the other manifestation planet, is there with Jupiter, and it will help you to manifest the thing that you're most intensely interested in manifesting in your career or your responsibilities. You're about that for Pisces.
Perfect. Okay, let's see what card comes up. And again, Pisces will be one of the signs that is the most affected by this transit according to the mathematically calculated card spread. I mentioned that earlier, but you probably weren't listening until Pisces. So I did cast a spread using the exact time when Jupiter switches into the sign of Sagittarius, and both Pisces and Sagittarius are going to be impacted very heavily by this transit in a powerful, positive way. So the card that you have is the Jack of Spades. So I think that one of the kind of hidden and underlying energies here that maybe we can't see as clearly with the transits is that there's going to be a lot of new things that are going to be coming up for both Sagittarius and Pisces. So this Jupiter transit is going to bring in new stuff, and that's going to require a death of the old. So as Jupiter is moving through your 10th house, you might find that, you know, because of the way that you're expanding in your career, that you have to let go of, you know, who you thought you were or what you thought you wanted, because there's just so much more for you to explore and so much more for you to enjoy in your career, or for you to enjoy in terms of, you know, the rewards and the successes that you want to have in life. So your whole paradigm of what you think is possible is going to expand and grow. And this could be the year for you to take necessary risks. You have a lot of support. So if you want to like risk to get more from, you know, all these opportunities, this could be the time for many of you to do that. But it's all about kind of going into uncharted territory, new beginnings, or taking risks, and mostly just expanding and being okay and being brave enough to allow yourself to go from sort of your like, oh, I can only make $25,000 a year attitude to, no, I deserve to make $60,000 a year. $25,000 was barely feeding me. So a lot of people that are Pisces rising sun and moon, you're going to start to really expand your idea of what success means, of what kind of influence you can have, like finally accepting, you know, I can do something in this world. I can be someone, and being brave enough to make it happen. And that bravery is going to require you to let go of, you know, who you thought you were before.
Yeah. So that's that mindset coaching that Nicole just gave you there.
Yes, definitely.
I think for Pisces rising is that Jupiter is aspecting the 4th house of inner emotional happiness. So listen to, listen to Virgo rising to get more information on that. And it's aspecting your 7th house too of partners. And so if you want to hear more about that, then listen to, let me see, which one was that? Gemini rising.
Yeah.
So you get a more rounded view of, you know, what, but the main thing is it's in the 10th.
Yeah. I mean, relationships for Pisces rising should either mature or end if they're not really promoting your growth and allowing you to have that mindset, like we're talking about, of success and at least expanding. I mean, maybe you're not going to expand to the point where you're like, I'm ready to be a millionaire or something, if that's important to you, but you're going to expand in terms of what's natural for you and what you need to experience of success in your filter or your view of success for who you are personally. Okay, so.
Right, and there's one thing, I want to add one thing to that, if that's okay, Nicole.
Yes.
And that is the promise of Jupiter. The promise of Jupiter is if you follow who you are, your natural being, you cannot fail. So.
Yay. And I also need to hear that today and often, because it's easy to forget.
Yeah.
So I want to say thank you to Karen for coming on to the channel. And she has so many beautiful, amazing offerings, which include astrology and coaching like myself. So if you resonate with Karen, if you love her work, then I definitely recommend that you get a reading with her or support her in whatever way through her, you know, purchasing her readings and also her classes. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Nicole. That was fun as usual.
Yes, I really enjoy hanging out with Karen. And I am really hungry after doing all these transits, so I'm going to go eat. But I hope that you enjoyed this transit video. Of course, I will have already posted or will post very soon my own astrological viewpoint of the transits or of this transit for each ascendant. And of course, get a past life reading with me if you can before I quit offering them for the season. And also sign up for the Cards of Truth to study the Cards of Truth, because as you can see, they're very powerful. You can get a lot of information from just drawing one card. And if you want to learn how to understand every single card meaning in the entire deck, learn how to cast cards as well as read cards in the software, just like I was doing this whole video, then you can join me for the Cards of Truth Study Group Round 2. And I put all the information for that below, as well as all the information to contact Karen. And subscribe if you haven't, like this video, if you listened to even a single minute of it, because it really helps the channel. And that is it. So thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Nicole.
Everyone enjoy this amazing transit. It's going to be beautiful. All right. Goodbye.